Welcome to The World is in You. This is an exhibition at Charlottenborg in Copenhagen about all the many ways that our bodies are connected to the planet, specifically through 4 themes: space, time, microbes, and generations. My name is Peter Stanners. I work at the Novo Nordisk Foundation Center for Basic Metabolic Research at the University of Copenhagen, and we do science about metabolic health and disease. And we are really excited about this exhibition because we think it's an incredible opportunity to show the connections and how the potentials from bringing together scientists, artists, and curators to talk about these big societal issues. Together with me today, I've got one of the 4 curators of the exhibition, Malthe Bjerregaard. And Malthe, you work at the Medical Museion. Medical Museion does research for CBMR into science communication through the program Metabolic Science in Culture. Welcome, Malthe. And Malthe, you brought with you Professor Romain Barrès. You're a group leader at CBMR, the Novo Nordisk Foundation Center for Basic Metabolic Research. And your research focuses on how diet and physical activity influence long-term metabolic health in present and future generations. So Malthe, curator of this exhibition, why generations? Why was this chosen as one of the themes for The World is in You?
So this generation is a very interesting field and theme because it touches upon how we are shaped as humans, basically. Not through centuries or millennia, but actually from generations to generations. So it asks questions about, did what your grandparents eat affect your lifestyle today? Or is what you are being exposed to today affecting your future children, basically? So it is something that looks at a very personal and lived experience, and a way we sort of try to engage with this field is through the science of epigenetics.
So yes, epigenetics. This is a field of science, Romain, that you've based your research on. Can you tell us what is this field of research all about?
Sure. Epigenetics is a discipline that is interested in how our genes, our DNA, are affected by environmental factors at the broad sense: lifestyle, physical activity, nutrition. And in particular, what I found fascinating with epigenetics is that it deals with this idea of memory, how we have behaved at a certain time of our life, what we ate, how much we exercise, how much does this affect our body, ourselves, but also the body of the next generation offspring and their health.
Absolutely. That's absolutely fascinating. Let's go in and take a look at some of what you've collaborated on in the exhibition. Let's go take a look. We're now inside the exhibition. We're in the space for generations, and we're at one of the installations. I can see a screen, I can see some sperm and a cup and a medical device. But in front of you, Romain, I also see what looks like the front page or a publication with your name on it. So I assume that your science was included directly into this exhibition. Could you tell me a little bit about what is this science? What is this publication here?
Yes, of course. What we've done here is to interrogate one simple question. Is our nutritional status influencing the message that we carry in our sperm cell, that is the epigenetic message? And it's stemming from an observation that in some population, when you looked at the nutritional status of some generations, you could see a link between the nutritional status of one generation and the second generation offspring risk for developing obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases. So the question was really stemming from that. Do we see in people with different nutritional status a difference in the message they can potentially send to their offspring? So we took sperm cells from individuals before and after an intervention that makes them eating less food. We call this a gastric bypass. It's a bariatric surgery. In average, these individuals lose about 40 kilos in 1 year span. And we looked at their sperm before and after, as I said, and looked specifically at the epigenetic signals in these cells. And we found huge differences, really striking differences, comparing the 2 samples, showing that one individual changing nutritional status in time is also changing the message that potentially can be inherited by their offspring.
Absolutely fascinating. Now, Malthe, why did you think that this particular paper and this installation would fit the exhibition? Can you tell us about the process of creating this?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, of course, but one of the main thing I think is that to remind us how it is we study humans in labs, right? So we tend something to find it maybe it's a different world, it's very alien, very hard to understand what goes on in the lab. But this, in some way, it's a very easy setup. You actually just take sperm samples before and after an operation and look at what changes from that perspective. So in that sense, it's very simple, but it's also a very human reminder of it's looking at what makes us and what creates us in some sense. So that's what fascinates me, but also the sort of the potential of what this could mean for us as a society. It's something we often focus on. Pregnancy is about the woman and her keeping sort of the world out of the fetus and her belly, and this sort of points to that the man also have a very sort of important role to play at specific times in conception, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, working together with Malthe, Romain, normally you're doing science, you're in the lab, or you're sort of crunching some data, I'm sure. Then you're working with a curator, and you've contributed to an installation at an exhibition. What's been the process like for you? Has it informed your own research in some way, in the way you're going to continue doing research or look at your research at all?
Very much indeed, because when we interact with the society, thanks to these type of exhibitions, it gives you a better awareness of what is a societal implication of what we are studying, and help us rephrase a more significant question for our next project. So in that particular case, we see that humans have a particular response to gastric bypass surgery, to nutritional status, and then looking at the perception of the society help us to design the next step is what type of food is changing this profile. When this profile is changed, what sort of consequence it has on the next generation. And that is very important for us to have this sort of feedback loop from the bench to the results, to the society and back, and so on.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Okay, so this is Generations at The World Is In You. The exhibition is open until January 16. Come and see this piece and many others here in Copenhagen. Until then, thank you very much.